if someone is experiencing the ramifications of not fulfilling that yet, which show up as symptoms of some sort or another, my invitation inside of the Art of Awakening is to move everyone back into that flow and to do so in every way possible. And I think that there are some basics there, that the foundational meditation and breath work and sound vibration, toning, all of these things are where we have to start. Everyone needs to infuse this into their lives. Welcome back to the Art of Awakening podcast, where the art of living awake becomes a daily practice. I am Dr. Sue Morter, your host, and I'm so thrilled to be here with you. Today, I am joined by a very dear friend, and her name is Jeralyn Glass. And Jeralyn is an internationally recognized sound healer now, which I'm thrilled to get into how that came about. She is a pioneer in crystal alchemy sound healing, and she was originally trained as a Broadway classical performer, and she now bridges music, vibration, science, and consciousness all together through her work in the world of helping people heal and helping people how to learn how to heal others. And she is the founder of Crystal Cadence, the creator of the sacred science of sound, and the author of Sacred Vibrations and the Crystal Sound Healing Oracle Deck. There's a whole lot going on there. And her work focuses on using sound to restore coherence, elevate awareness, and support healing on all levels in our lives. And so that's her formal bio. And I just want to say that Jeralyn has become a very dear friend in my life. She was first a student participating in a Journey Awake that I was giving in South America, in Peru. And we became very close over the years because she became very devoted to turning some things around. And so that meant we were going to spend some time together because she would come to everything that I was doing and sit in the front row and ask her questions and get them answered. And that led to lots of other conversations about possibilities and about supporting the work that Morter Institute is doing in all sorts of beautiful and amazing ways. And she has been a very steady, stable friend in my life for all the years since we first met. So please help me welcome Jeralyn Glass to the podcast. Jeralyn, hello, dear. Welcome. Great to have you.
Thank you, Dr. Sue. What an honor. So excited to be here with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's start before sound healing even had a name, back when you were just beginning with all of this. When you look back now, where do you see vibration and frequency shaping your life before you even consciously worked with sound, before you even trying to do that? What role did sound, vibration, frequency have in your life?
I mean, it was music. So I knew as a little girl that I wanted to sing, and I knew that music was going to be my path. And then little did I know that after I met you, that music and your work actually became my medicine. It really became everything that we think of as medicine, as really helping to soothe and calm and quicken and harmonize and bring joy and reactivate love when we've gone through depths of sorrow. So music, it was just a joy to study singing, to learn about all the great composers, whether it was the Broadway or jazz or classical. And so music has been my life.
Yes, it has. And I know when we pursue something to the degree that we end up on Broadway, for instance, the pinnacle of expression inside of, that realm, we know that there's a lot of devotion, a lot of time, a lot of orienting your life really toward this one thing, sort of a singular focus. And while we think we're pursuing a particular career, it's actually a refinement in our consciousness that is also happening along the way. When we are singularly focused like that, in order to even get to the top of the top, something happens inside of our consciousness. Can you speak to anything that you can identify with that has helped you in terms of healing your own life and healing inside of the circumstances that unfold in our world, that developing this singular focused mind, this singular attention, this devotion in such a way is helping you even now?
I think music and singing was like I was like an athlete, a vocal athlete, and I think immediately from the beginning, vibration. Because I remember clearly as a young child twirling and spinning around on our driveway and singing and feeling this presence of the divine. So I think for me, sound and vibration has always been a really deep connection to God, to the divine, to a presence that was so loving that held me from the time I was a little girl. And that it never really changed because I remember going on stage, whether it was opening on Broadway or at big theaters in Europe, standing at the stage of the Munich Philharmonic, there was always this sense of, which I later learned to put it into a more of a structured thing when I learned your work. But there was always this column, this connection of, I am the human instrument, and dear God, help me to open this instrument and let love flow through it.
Mm.
I don't know how else to say it, but that music was this true connection from the human body to spirit.
And so, what do you think about for someone who doesn't necessarily have a trained voice, or maybe even think they have much of a voice, a singing voice at all? How might they be able to relate to what you're saying in terms of allowing the cosmos, source, God, the divine, to pour through them as the instrument that they each are as well?
Humming. I mean, everybody can hum, and so many people have been shamed throughout their lives that just be quiet, just mouth the words, you don't have a voice. It's not true, Sue. It's, if I can put my hand on my heart and one hand on my belly and just and just feel that unique vibration that I am through my hum, that is the first connection through sound vibration. And you know as well as I that, we talk about creation came from sound. In the beginning was the word. Sound vibration creates, right? So if I can find my own unique vibrational signature, my frequency, whatever that means, and there's no right or wrong, simply by making contact with my own body and making a hum and then playing with that hum. Some of the things I like to do are just like to siren it. And gently play with moving your frequency, your vibration. That is one art of tuning ourselves. It's one art of helping to bring harmony and bring that connection. It doesn't mean like, wah, it doesn't mean that I have to sing out Louise like that. It just means, what is my essence? What is my vibration? And how does that immediately connect me to something bigger than myself and something that is love?
Mhm. This is really where I'm finding the conversation becomes relevant. There's lots of science and lots of research, and we get that, and we'll cover some of those things, I'm sure, as well. But what I really want to allow is for everyone initially in this conversation to recognize that the whole of creation is based in energy, and as energy is moving from one frequency to another, there are sound waves that get generated, and that sound vibration is what we're doing when we hum or when we sing or when we breathe, for that matter, and even when we think. We're generating different vibrational frequencies of the energy that's pouring through us. And I just want everyone to recognize that in this moment, that's going to determine the kinds of thoughts that you are attracted to thinking. It's going to determine the way that you breathe and therefore oxygenate your system and remain in harmony in the world and on this earth. And so it's not just about going to a sound bath for healing because of you're trying to compensate for everything that the world has done to you. It's really this, I want this conversation to ignite in you that you can steer how the energy is moving through you every moment, so that you're going to a sound bath or, enjoying playing the bowls or listening to them or even enjoying humming for reasons of really transcending, opening your consciousness to higher and higher states so that we're not always trying to survive and make up for what's been going wrong for so long. And so Jeralyn, when you find yourself stressed or strained or, kind of off or disconnected in some way, um, is it and you're saying that sound is what has always connected you. You've felt it in the body. Can you describe anything that you do to allow yourself to be able to feel that vibration in the body better? If you're off kilter, if you are off center in some way, how to, maximize that hum as someone's, walking around the house, doing their thing, doing whatever, and trying to find that connection. Is there anything that you can, support people with in that way?
Yeah, so first of all, too, I've learned your body awake yoga, which has also been an incredible strength and support in my life. So, for example, going into downward dog and just feeling the sound move up and down your central channel. That's one very strong thing. I like movement with the sound. So also doing cross movements that you teach, I find that's really important. Going down on all fours and doing cat cow and just really feeling that the sound, we don't just hear with our ears. Every single cell of us hears and feels. And so if we allow this sense of sound and vibration moving through every part of me, it's a whole different experience than just feeling, okay, I got to make my sound here. No, it's using your breath, using the movement of your body. Sometimes, there's a lot of things that can trigger us. So sometimes when I feel extremely triggered, I'll just move, I'll stomp, I'll do heel strikes. So bringing my heels against the floor and just ha, 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 and just use my voice, open my whole instrument. One wonderful tip is if you put your hands at your jaw joint for just a moment and you go into the yawn, you can feel that as you yawn, your whole throat opens and there's a rush of energy that goes from the throat down to the pelvis. So that's a really good little tool to just to just yawn and let yourself make sound and feel the sound moving up and down your central channel. Feel the sound moving through your body because it's a combination of vibration, movement, and then, as you know so well, also then finding a place of stillness afterwards so that you feel in that stillness, the sound is always present and the sound vibration is always moving and it's a part of you. You are that.
Mm. I noticed that after toning and, generating seed sounds in the body that begin to activate some of our really sacred patterns, our foundational, fundamental patterns of existence, that afterward to sit, it's almost like it's echoing through the body. There's this reverberation that continues, and that when people feel that, that is the connection all the way from this body to the unified field as we know it, and so I totally get what you're saying about sitting in the silence after the sound. There's another language being spoken right there in between the sounds that is so unifying for us when we begin to think about it and perceive it in this way. Now, if we were to speak a little bit about coherence, what does crystal sound do to entrain the body into emotional and physiological and energetic alignment or coherence? You know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things within each of us that maybe we don't even recognize that they're buried. And to try to talk certain things through, I found so what led me to you was the passing of my son. And I found that he was 19 years old. I found that you're in this kind of shock. And how do you even begin? Your body is in fight or flight, full on in a trauma. How do you even begin to feel, Sue? And so what I found was that if I played a bowl, suddenly my grief and the interesting thing is when I first started to really use the singing bowls to process the grief, when I first started playing the very first one, and it was a selenite bowl, which is about the energies of grounded white light and the connection of heaven earth. The bowl was screeching, and so me as a trained musician, I'm like, "What are you doing wrong? You know what? All you have to do is tap it and swirl it," but it was like screeching. What I learned later is that the bowl had entrained with that depth of that grief, and it was reflecting it. Right? But, of course, the first thing, with my conscious mind was, "What am I doing wrong? Why how can I mess up the technique of playing a bowl?" And so what I recognized is that the emotions, when we're ready and when sound really connects with them, they start to be felt. Sound creates a safety. It created for me a container that when I was in grief talk therapy, I couldn't get to the essence of what sound and music helped me to connect with.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So we have the field, the energetic field of the bowl that is a perfect template for bridging realms, and the molecular structure of the selenite is such that it holds that kind of space. And then we have the field of you that is experiencing this collapsed presence on your emotional body and your mental body following closely behind, just unable to wrap yourself around what's unfolded in your life and how you're to translate this moving forward, and what it all means. And now those two fields are coming together, and you're activating the field of this perfecting bowl, and it's stirring something in you that is a more perfected version of you. And it allows that trapped energy that's been suppressed in the moments that you shut down, to emerge, to start to emerge. And so then you can start to articulate, you can start to find that energy and start to assign meaning to it, or eventually find words for it. And in this way, healing happens, meaning this coherence led by the bowl in that moment, to allow us to find a more perfected version closer to the truth of who we are, of ourselves, than we were able to do without it. So it's pretty amazing. They're very good friends, these bowls.
I mean, I remember the first time of just like, okay, I created a sacred space for myself, candles, it was dark, and I just started to play that one bowl. And tears and groaning and keening and sounds came out that I couldn't make in a talk therapy. It was like the bowl went, "Okay, baby, we're going in," right? And
Mhm.
suddenly it was so deep inside me, and I let this process go on for about 50 minutes. And I'll never forget, Sue, when I got up and went to the bathroom to wash my face, there was light in my eyes. And it was like, I get goosebumps just when I say that. And I saw in that moment there was joy in my eyes, and I was like, "Wait, what? What just happened?" I led myself, and honestly, I felt the presence of my son very much in the room, guiding it. There was like this, as you talk about, there was like this misty white presence, and I felt safe and I felt loved, and that gave me the permission, again, like sound, and the intention and the sacredness of going in, okay, I'm going to go in and see what I discover. That held space for transformation to happen. That held space that there was love present there, that somehow I could accept the depth of what I was feeling. I couldn't understand it, but I saw in my eyes that there was light there again. And that for me was okay, there's something here that I'm going to explore. And that eventually led me to you. It's yeah.
Absolutely. The light in the eye is evidence that we're not interfering with the stream that's pouring into this body, that wants to pour, or is designed to pour through this body and out into our lives. And when things happen in our world that we are unable to understand or just come present to, because of the interwoven relationships or attachments that we have in all sorts of beautiful ways. um, when we start to allow that flow again, the light reveals, it just reveals. And this is what is beautiful about meditation, about breath work, about toning, about being inside around music that uplifts us, is that those sound waves don't know that you've collapsed in certain ways. They're just presenting in the joy and the possibility that remains before, during, and after our story. And so when we keep ourselves in the company of that, it keeps reshaping us into that divine potential, that the purity of the system as it is meant to be. So when we talk about emotions as energy in motion, um, how do you think that the emotions of fear and grief really complete their cycle through the body instead of becoming stored patterns um, in our regular life? How can people keep that energy in motion and in flow um, rather than allowing it to compress and stay suppressed and become a thing instead of a wave of divine source energy that we are meant to be?
Movement. And that's, I think, why I always loved singing so much, because no matter what, if you were just singing an ooval or singing a song that you love, there's movement. The vibration is moving on your breath. And so I feel like important is that no matter what we're going through, we give it movement. And in that moment, at the depth of what I had ever felt in my life, the sound bowl held me so that there was movement. And whether it was just keening and groaning and just there was movement. And I feel like that's very important. If we go, oh my gosh, I just can't, and you hold it in, that's going to create blockages and stress and tensions and et cetera, illness in the body. So somehow I think, if you think about cultures from the beginning of time, there was always drumming, there was always sound, there was always movement with people coming together with sound and rhythm and melody. And I feel like, what you asked me earlier, anyone can make sound, right? It can be as simple as a hum. But if you allow sound to move through you, if you allow emotions to move and they don't get stuck, that's the first step. That was the first step for me to, I gave myself permission to feel at the depth of my being, but I had no idea where it was going to take me. And of course, it's scary in a sense that you start groaning and you land in the depth of despair, but it cleansed me. It purified. And then, as I said, I looked in the mirror and there was light in my eyes. I connected to something bigger than just poor me, poor Jeralyn, she's lost her child. Like it was so much bigger than that.
Mhm. And so important to feel what we're feeling, but to not, get so immersed in it that we lose touch with, this greater something more. And if we can remain in touch with this greater something more, which I call the divine continuum really pouring through us, and that's what I've felt so strongly about it. I've written about that in my new book. And um, if we can stay in flow, we can handle anything. So if we're allowing that connection to remain, then it's okay to drop down in and have what you're having. Have the grief, have the sorrow, have, the angst and the anger and the frustration and the questioning about how could such things happen and why to me, and all of that is real for the personality. It's real for the person self that's been living life up to this moment. And what we're in the process of doing is awakening to another version of what we are as a human being.
There was a big aha moment for me when you said to me, these emotions are grounding. I'm like, what? What? And it was like you gave me the permission to have them be okay. The grief is grounding. It can really root you. And then, of course, you rise. Same with anger. Like you made it clear to me, let those be because they ground you.
I hope that everyone can hear that. I hope that everyone that is here can hear that as not only permission to feel what you're feeling, but an encouragement to feel what you're feeling. Because when we can become present to all of these different emotional states, we increase our vastness. We increase our repertoire of what life is, and we open up to the full keyboard, the full spectrum. by doing so. And then we can actually dance and play in a much more free and elaborate way, a deeply meaningful way, because we're not afraid of feeling these things. We're letting ourselves feel them. And thank you for bringing that into the conversation. It's just so, so important. So when we talk about sound and silence and the relationship between sound and silence, it's sort of like that relationship between the words and between the words, and the interplay there is actually dancing right at this place where the unmanifest becomes manifest. In addition to dealing with grief and healing, what have you seen sound do to um, support or amplify, regulate, or help to organize manifesting in someone's life, like bringing forth the dreams and the desires that someone is wanting? What have you seen happen in that arena regarding sound therapy and vibrational medicine in this way?
So many things too. So I'm thinking of just regular people that aren't suffering with an illness or struggling with an illness who I think what you also helped explain to me because here I was this musician and suddenly I'm in this world of vibration it's a whole nother way that I was beginning to understand stand sound. But you'd say to me, Geraldine, the sound gives your mind something to focus on, right? And in that moment that your mind goes, oh, wow, that's a beautiful look, listen to that crystalline sound. It's incredible. Your mind is focusing on that, and you get to drop in deep inside you. Right. So suddenly the sound has the ability to still the mind in a way that I experienced nothing else did. Because sometimes we get afraid of going into that silence. What happens if it's empty there? What happens if it's dark in there and there's nothing in there? But the sound creates this kind of velvety sacred space. So, I mean, I've seen young people like get completely inspired to do, like, for example, I work with a singer, Janae Aiko, completely got inspired to do something that she called modern mantra. And the sound took her into this place of pristine stillness, and then inspiration comes, and your creativity is free, and you're in this kind of flow. I'm thinking about last summer, I was teaching at a music camp in Nashville, and one of the professors that was there we had, I had a group of bowls and I had everybody make sounds with them. So they were toning if they felt like doing om or just humming, whatever they were improvising with making sounds on top of the bowls. And with the intention of creating a very healing space, the professor raised his hand and he was like, Jeralyn, I'm freaking out. He said, I have Parkinson's disease and I have stopped trembling. What is happening here?
Mm.
And we kept sounding and toning as he walked the room and he was just like, I'm grounded, I'm stable. And that was an amazing experience for him and everyone in the room. I'm thinking about Dr. Sue cancer patients. There's three different women who had mastectomies, and each one of them in three different sound baths said to me, I don't know how to share this. I don't know how to put it in words, but I'm not missing a part of me anymore. I'm whole. It was as if the sound created the return of their breast. They felt that they weren't missing anything. Those were the words that were used from three different women. So, I mean, I'm thinking of a veteran who got up after a sound bath again. Like people get, they're just blown away, like how they feel inside, how grounded they feel, how centered, how expanded, and how in their soul they feel, who just said, I've taken every medication known to man. I've had everything that you can imagine happen to me. And she said, I have never felt the way I felt after hearing these bowls. So, I would ask you questions along the way and say, like, what is happening?
Totally.
And the explanation of just that the sound quickens you, it stills the mind, and you drop into something much bigger, then you allow yourself that space when you're in your conscious thinking mind.
Mm. How beautiful. I've spent my life in the healing world. I was born into a family. My father was a pioneer in energy medicine, And so every orientation of everything that I've ever come across has been looked at through the eyes of how can people heal through this, and how can this serve, and what is it that's really happening here, and just putting the big picture together and putting the pieces together. And and so, I love that you came from a different world and found yourself in healing, and I'm seated in this world of healing, and I'm also interested in people moving beyond trying to heal, and inspiring themselves to be whole. And so I guess how that could roll out in this conversation is that when we step into our wholeness, healing happens as a byproduct of that, of revealing our magnificence. And so these women, for instance, or this individual who was, post-traumatic in obvious ways, we're playing the bowls and they're feeling ways that they've never felt before. That's what I'm talking about. So I don't want people to think that, well, I don't really have a problem. I'm not grieving anything, or I'm not really, depressed, or I'm trying to heal anything significantly physical. I want everyone to know that sound vibration isn't just about healing. It's about awakening. It's about activating wholeness. And when we activate our wholeness, we heal and we enliven the field of infinite possibility. So it's available for everyone. It's something that everyone can benefit from by visiting this world of this discussion, and more importantly, the experience, which I hope we get to experience some of what we're talking about today while we have you here. This experience of sound frequency and what it can do. So yes, you can enter into listening and being in the presence of the bowls being played for purposes of healing. And you can also enter into that space with purposes of allowing visions and your original medicine to manifest here, to develop a pathway for you to flow into why you came here, and to get back on that track of what you were intending when you said, yes, I am, coming into this creation, this manifestation in the first place. And if someone is experiencing the ramifications of not fulfilling that yet, which show up as symptoms of some sort or another, my invitation inside of the Art of Awakening is to move everyone back into that flow, and to do so in every way possible. And I think that there are some basics there, that the foundational meditation and breath work and sound vibration, toning, all of these things are where we have to start. Everyone needs to infuse this into their lives in a way that activates the wholeness again. So I was loving what you were saying in terms of these women feeling their wholeness, no matter what has taken place on a physical level, there's a template and a version of us that is absolutely whole and complete. And when we get back on that track and start animating that and amplifying it every day, we begin to live as if that is all that is, because it is ultimately, right? So, yes.
And I think it brings you to this your unique, it's like, okay, are you the flute? Am I the violin? Is someone else the harp? Someone else the saxophone? Like it brings you to the unique instrument that you are.
Mm.
And as you just said, like people might not be necessarily living yet in their purpose, but suddenly they experience the beauty and the pristine and the exquisite quality of crystalline sound. And then boom, like you get an idea. And I think what I've seen over the years now um, is that I don't question so much. My singing teacher used to say to me, "Take the question mark off your back." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? What
What do you
question
mean by
mark? And
that?
how do you see that? What's back here?"
Yeah.
But there is this thing that we all, I think, go through periods of just questioning or doubting or, you know, do I deserve? Am I okay? Am I good enough? And I think everybody goes through some form of that, and I found what the sound has done is, like, it's helped me to connect to awaken as you're so beautifully sharing, like, to connect to the divine, to connect to the bigger aspect of who I am and express myself without the question mark. Because, nobody wants to be embarrassed or ashamed. We want to make sure we do things right, but it's like, if you can come through sound vibration in the core of who you are, open to this, grounded to the earth, then something changes in your life big time and you find yourself saying yes to things, I never thought that I'd be certainly be here in my life. And it's like there's so much joy in it and there's so much light and so much that's developed and opened in my life because sound helped me to feel grounded and to say yes. Like there's nothing too big for this human being to experience. And it made me remember that right at the beginning after my son passed, three different doctors said to me, "Let's put you on an antidepressant." And I remember just feeling insulted. Like I remember feeling, why would I do that? And again, if it's needed in your life, by all means. But I just remember for me at that moment thinking, if I didn't have the courage to sit in the feelings I was feeling, they'd be numbed out. And I wouldn't be able to find the gift in that. That somehow I knew that. So it's like whatever we're going through, and if we're just looking for a sense of purpose or wondering what's next for us, sound can help you to be super creative, to be inspired, to say yes, to take the question mark off your back and follow where your truth is leading you.
Absolutely. How absolutely beautiful. So I'm hoping that we get to hear a little bit from this magical space that sits right behind you that I know so well. And I would love for everyone to be able to, um, have a little bit of exposure to these friends of yours that sit on the shelves behind you. So can we go there? Yay,
We
we're
sure.
going to. Um, um,
So, do you want to hear just a moment about what I created on the table for us?
Yes, yes, and then I just have a tiny thing to say before you begin actually playing, but go ahead.
So, just take a listen. That in music is the C major scale, but what it is, it's each of those notes in the Western system is corresponding to the root chakra and sacral chakra, each one of our 7 chakras in the body, and this one is above the body. So just to experience when sound, this one is very much below the body. When sound gives us a tone that's super grounding, when sound gives us a tone that's super accelerating or like this, and then we center and land fully present in the body, that's kind of the structure of the music. And for me, although they're pure sound vibration, I love to play and create music that creates as you asked earlier, Dr. Sue, like a coherence and a structure where suddenly we go, I can land safely in here. And then I breathe and feel, and all sorts of things can happen.
Beautiful. So as you're playing these different tones, different parts of my body are just lighting up in response to it's a coherence. It's like, oh, I know you. Oh, I know you. Oh, I know you. And when all of these come into the room, these parts of our own system are seen. It's as if they're held, they're known. And that is what consciousness is all about, is having all of the parts of us be seen, be awake, have our awareness be able to fall upon all of our faculties, every single aspect of our consciousness. And so this is why I love sound vibration, and I love working with it in terms of, how we've been speaking about it here today. So Jeralyn's going to play just a little bit. Are you going to play just a little bit? I don't want to, put play into your wand, but if I might, I'm going to invite everyone to come to this for you. You may be driving right now, or you may be just listening to this, but at some point, I want you to watch this whole thing and sit down right here in a space that is silent and allowing for you. And I would just love for you to go into, even though it's just for a few moments that we get to do this, for you to have this be 100% for you, as if all of your attention is coming deeply inward, and to just feel and sense what happens as the different notes, the different frequencies are entering into your space, okay? So, Jeralyn, go ahead.
So feeling the depth of this sound vibrating below your body.
So, so beautiful. Thank you so much. You know, I'm reminded of something um, as you're coming back around to have more conversation. I'll just share a little bit of this for our viewers. We were a couple of months ago at a live event in Santa Fe that I was hosting called Ignite, and I do this every year, and so where everyone can come and be in person. And Jeralyn is doing the bowls, and we have some gong playing happening at the same time, and I'm leading a meditation in the evening sessions, um, and some of the tones that you were just striking were just exactly similar to just exactly that. And it took me right back into this space because while I was leading a meditation, I actually had an up-leveling, a very huge opening in my own consciousness, which I've been integrating ever since, best I can, fast as I can, is a new level of awareness for me and an opening of my own system really coming into embodiment, really beyond the physical body, but here in this physical dimension. And I will share about that on in my events or on a podcast that I'm doing at some point in the future when I can put words to that. But because of these sounds resonating with the depths of the truth of who we are, we each have an opportunity in those moments to remember not just who we were before our trauma or who we were before our story on this earth, but what we're made of, truly, what consciousness in its pure presence actually is, because we really are that. And it's an entire realm away from where people are driving in cars and walking down sidewalks and trying to make the best of life. There is another reality that we each exist in, and these sound vibrations are a bridge to that reality because in the beginning was sound. As the unified field begins to compress, it creates this vibration, and that vibration is what we know as this sound frequency, and it is love in motion. And so thank you for I wasn't expecting to feel that again, in this moment where I'm supposed to still have conversations. Thank you for that, and I'm hoping that everyone here is able to just sense enough that you can feel that there's something there for you, and to know that when you explore that part of you, you explore the rest of who you are, and it helps fill in the blanks, fill in the gaps between the parts of us that we already know and the parts of us that we would like to get to know that are really the completion of our wholeness. So, Jeralyn, what what is next for you? What are you inspired and excited about moving forward? I just want to say, what's next? What's after this?
I mean, I'm just my whole being is sort of still leaning over to the big low C note because again, the sound it's eternal. And I always use the word ineffable. It's like it's sublime. It's heart. I mean, I too feel just enveloped by the beauty of the sound and the incredible thing, Sue, is that it's never the same. It never plays the same. Like, there were overtones now on those bowls where once they start going, it's like, okay, it's like this cosmic dance. And, who's ever listening to the podcast, whenever, it's for all of us. And I think for me, certainly in these last 10 years, the field of music as medicine is where I've landed, and being able to share these things with medical doctors, with lawyers, with anyone, that people really come to recognize, whoa, there is a medicine in this for me. So whether I'm working with children, young moms with babies, it doesn't matter what the demographic is. It's for humanity. Music is this language for all of us. So as you know, I created a book, and that took a lot of effort, and you wrote the foreword to it, and I was so grateful for that. And we created an oracle deck, this crystal sound healing oracle deck that you have QR codes, and you can put your phone on there and listen to the sounds. We created an app called Source Be Inspired that Dr. Sue, you're on, and it's a meeting place of science and spirituality. So I am passionate about how can I how can I bring my expertise as a musician, since I'm 19 years old, a professional musician and singer, how can I bring that into the field of healing. So, um, yeah, I got to speak in Washington, D.C. in the last administration. That was amazing to be in conversation with scientists and researchers, medical doctors, and musicians, and really talk about what is it for all of us that music is this common thread, that sound vibration is this common thread for all of us to, as you said earlier so beautifully, like to, and as a cancer patient said, to be whole. Um, I just played for Live Nation, which is a big, big producer of concerts, and they're very excited about how that's gonna unfold. So just collaborations. I love, like, I love playing for you and your live events, and, um, collaboration. I become present, you become more present, and then together we create something that's beyond what either of us conceived of, right? There's something about a collaboration through music and sound. So it's diving deeper. We've started a research project with Minerva Institute because there's not been much research done on the Crystal Alchemy singing bowls. So they're basically 20 years old. They were came out of the market in the year 2000. So it's always for me bridging this bridging the worlds between the visible and the invisible, the seen and the unseen, heaven and earth. How do we do that? And I feel like with what's happened in my own life with my son and not being able to have a physical life with him anymore, like, it's like, "Mom, there's something so beyond what you and I ever conceived of," and so it's that. It's really how do we dive deeper and deeper into sound and music as a true medicine for
Mhm.
humanity.
Yeah. We're sitting at a time of great invitation to step into our wholeness, and the fact that humanity hasn't really been oriented in that way, we don't know what to do. People don't know what to do. And what I know is that inherent within us is the great knowing. We do know what to do. But when we're living from the level of the personality that was taught by, our teachers and our neighbors and our parents and so forth, um, it can feel a little daunting right now when there's so much confusion and conflict and friction, etc. But I know on a deep spiritual level that that confusion and friction is happening because we're birthing into a new version of ourselves. And the number one thing that we're being invited in to do is to find the truth of who we are, because that truth of us does know. And these sound frequencies allow people to come inward. There's such an invitation for people to find that deep truth right here in front of you, that I just can't say it often enough in this conversation. And I know that people are looking at how to get up and out. They want out of body experiences. They want to go on journeys, etc. And that will happen. But if your attention and intention is to come deeply inward, you will have those kinds of lofty, transcendental experiences, but you'll be in the body, grounding and building circuitry so that you can translate those experiences into new innovations and ideas and solutions, instead of just being caught up in the frustration that the world isn't going the way you wanted it to. And so we're here to generate ourselves as creators. And the art of awakening is about awakening people to their creatorship, to their ability to do this. And so I thank you so much, Jeralyn, for being here to offer an entire modality for people to assist and facilitate that process for themselves. So there's a website. Tell me where we're going to put in the show notes, the name of the book, the name of the healing deck, the name of the how to get the app and all that. But I also want people to just come and find you directly. What is the website that you would direct them to? Is it just the JeralynGlass.com?
No, that's more my singing career. It's
Okay.
crystalcadence.com.
Okay.
And I
Crystal
took
Cadence.
cadence because it's crystal cadence. It's a musical structure. And for me, just like what you said, I don't want to just have a one time high. I don't want to have a one time thing. I want to be able to sustain it. And I want to be able to walk in my life and keep up leveling what's happening. So cadence is a structure. So crystal cadence. And then my son very much inspired me to create a YouTube channel where we have hundreds of free meditations, including 3 2-hour loops so that people can just explore, what does it feel like when I'm listening to 528 hertz tuning? What does it feel like when I'm listening to 432 hertz tuning? So there's a big library on the Crystal Cadence by Jeralyn Glass YouTube channel.
Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Please, everyone, go and check that out. Absolutely. And for just a moment, I'm going to slide this in here as well. Something else I want you to check out. I'm very excited to share with you all that my new book, The Anatomy of Awakening, is available now for pre-sale. And it is a beautiful way to wrap your mind around everything that we're speaking about here today and to hold the space for vibrational healing to do all that it can do for you. Really learning what's inside those pages will also be very, very helpful for you. In the book, I introduce the sacred invisible structure within us that holds the key to greater peace and healing and transformation. It's about awakening to the vibrational frequency of a greater love. And so it perfectly dovetails with what we're talking about right here today. We're learning inside of that book how to align with the 5 hidden codes that allow us to live our highest selves and our divine destiny. And you'll be able to find The Anatomy of Awakening wherever books are sold and pre-order. We'll include a link also in the show notes here for you to pre-order your copy today from here. What a joy, Jeralyn, right? It is such a joy to walk this walk with you. And I thank your son for wanting to go to Peru, and then, months after his transition, you deciding to, in his honor, to go to Peru. And so in honor of that, as we were climbing to the top of Huayna Picchu at Machu Picchu, I did a little ceremony where I held his picture up and showed him because he always wanted to go there. And so one of our students took this photo, and you can certainly see the light that is happening right there in that moment. And that moment lives imprinted in my heart every day. And thank you for following your son's desire and saying yes to that, and then introducing me to the story of what was unfolding, and allowing me to be a part of this journey with you. So thank you. It's been such a joy to have you here with us, Jeralyn. Thank you so much. Any last words of wisdom for everyone?
Oh my goodness. As a young singer, I had a little quote up in my room that said, "Music is love in search of a word." And how would I ever have known that this was going to develop the way it developed? And that I never thought I could say that the experiences that I've had in losing my son became a gift, but it became so much bigger than, it's what you're talking about so profoundly, is this art of awakening and how love is such an essential part of it. And to accept what life gives us, we're not victims, and to move and to find the joy as I found the light in my eyes again. And as I walked the path with you, um, life is a gift.
Blessed are we. It is such a joy also to share this great blessing with all of our listeners. Thank you for being a part of the Art of Awakening and for helping this become what is now referenced as a breakout podcast. We are growing faster than most. We're in the top 1 to 2%, I believe, of, I don't know, millions, 4 million podcasts that are out there. So we're thrilled to be here. It's wonderful to be sharing such brilliance with all of you, and thank you for showing up to these podcasts with the brilliant hearts that you have. Right here at the Art of Awakening podcast, where we are blending science and spirituality to empower you to create a life that you truly love living and to evolve, actually, into the truth of who you are. Bringing peace to the planet is inevitable as that unfolds. So thank you again, Jeralyn. Until next time, everyone, I'm Dr. Sue Morter. Blessings to you all. Thank you for joining us in the Art of Awakening. Bye-bye for now.